This one came in all caps, so you know there's some frustration behind it. You get a huge board and you're vibing, and then you just, let me just pull a Twisting Nether out of my ass real quick.
Hey, buddy, watch this.
That's right, folks. The world may be ending, but what better way to spend our time than talking about some Hearthstone cards we hate? That's right, I asked you guys to share your most hated Hearthstone card. Something like 1,200 people responded. I gathered the data, and these are the 10 cards that you guys hate the most. So up first here, we've got Archmage Vargoth, and this guy put it pretty well. Whoever freed Vargoth from that blasted tower needs to be shot. And to put it a little more carefully, Vargoth's interaction with the Mage Quest is entirely unavoidable, and its interaction with Resurrect effects is unfun. I do agree with that, actually. Right now, Vargoth is a really problematic card in Wild format with the Mage Quest giving you multiple extra turns. That is apparently running rampant in Wild and frustrating a ton of people. And then, as we'll see throughout the course of this video, Resurrect effects and Res Priest in general are clearly something people don't like, and Vargoth is a big part of that with those big mass resurrection turns where you get 6 minions instead of 3 because of your Vargoth. That can be a really, really frustrating game-stealing sort of moment on occasion. I think in most decks, actually, Vargoth would be a pretty fun, reasonable card that people don't hate, but just because of Res Priest, this one does get some of that vitriol, and that's why it's on this list. So next up here at the number 9 spot is Toxic Reinforcements. Only villains play Toxic Reinforcements. That's right, all the face hunters of the world are indeed villains in a lot of people's eyes. I kind of get it. It is a deck, as our second comment here indicates, that does sort of ignore what your opponent's doing. It just goes face. It has one singular goal. It's of one mind. It doesn't have a lot of counterplay or interactivity, and that can be pretty frustrating to play against. That 6 inevitable damage from Toxic Reinforcements often is the kind of game ender that feels really, really bad. So yeah, I kind of hate this card too. At the number 8 spot is Zephyrus the Great. This one came in all caps, so you know there's some frustration behind it. It sucks when he gets played against you. You get a huge board and you're vibing, and then you just, let me just pull a Twisting Nether out of my real quick. I think that is a very eloquent way to say that basically Zephyrus is like a get out of jail free card. When you think you're winning the game, Zephyrus comes down and he kind of just steals it out from under you, makes some ridiculous play, burst damage, Twisting Nether, some absurd threat. And I get that frustration. That said, I still think I like Zephyrus more often than not. He's just a really fun design, and he feels good to play, so there's a little bit of counterbalance. Some cards don't really feel that good to play, like Toxic Reinforcements feels like garbage to play and garbage to play against. At least Zephyrus feels good to play, so I think, in my mind at least, he doesn't really suck all that much. So moving on here to our number 7 spot, it's Vas Resurrection. What do you know? Res Priest is going to be a bit of a theme in this video. We already talked about this one with Vargoth. I hate Mass Resurrection because it feels horrible to slog your way through a game, killing the same minions over and over again. Yeah, I agree with that, actually. It's like the gameplay is very formulaic in a way, like you know exactly the kind of things you're going to have to answer. Often you can't answer it, and there's this inevitability at the end of the game where they're just going to keep making so much stuff, healing so much, eventually completing their quest, that you never really get through it, and that's pretty darn frustrating. Moving on to number 6, it's Shuttle Rock. Shuttle Rock has never felt fun to play with or against, in my opinion. Shuttle Rock takes up a lot of design space. His powerful battle cries are hard to print while he exists. Going on to cite things like Galakrond, I think we all know those early Descent of Dragons metas with Galakrond Shaman felt really bad, and the early Witchwood meta when Shuttle Rock was completely dominating the game felt like utter garbage. So yes, I think I agree with that. Shuttle Rock has stolen a couple good early metas in a way. Now, of course, Shuttle Rock Galakrond stuff wasn't really Shuttle Rock's fault so much as Galakrond's, but nonetheless did contribute and kind of remind us of that Witchwood era. So although I do actually have a lot of fun with this card these days now that it's not super overpowered, it has spiked in power so high a couple times that those moments felt really frustrating and problematic for the meta and stole a few days from us here and there until Blizzard was fairly quick to react in both cases, we have to admit. So Blizzard, good job there. Nonetheless, does restrict design space, does ruin some moments. So Shuttle Rock had his time, and I guess I'm pretty glad to see him rotating soon. So now into the top 5, it's Ziliax. And one guy fessed up here for why he hates Ziliax. He just said, I'm an aggro player. Which I guess is a good reason as any to hate Ziliax, because it's true, giving healing to every class with Russian Magnetic does mean aggro players can get checked out by this card pretty often. Again, this one features prominently in Res Priest as well, a theme for this video, clearly a deck people absolutely loathe these days. Now, spoiler alert, Ziliax will also show up in our future video for cards that people love, so this is another one that's a little bit balanced. I think Ziliax is fine. I don't think he completely shuts down aggro game plans, but I am also going to be glad to know that not every class has access to this really reliable and powerful universal healing tool, particularly in combination with Snip Snap. So I'm excited to see how a meta develops without Ziliax. Nonetheless, a card I certainly have enjoyed, and it feels like a truly iconic Hearthstone card at this stage. Yeah, what do you know? Look at this, another Res Priest card, Activate the Obelisk. Hate Activate the Obelisk, because it means I don't get to play Hearthstone. And boy, do I feel you there, man. Lately on stream, I've just been conceding when we queue into Priest, because I just don't want to play out that game. I don't have 25, 30 minutes to play it the right way. It's not fun to watch. It's not fun to be a part of. So yeah, I am sad to know that Activate the Obelisk is still going to be in standard format, but hopefully this is something that doesn't stick around forever as an actual meta-relevant deck. It still has a lot of pieces in standard format, so I don't know if this thing is going to be there or not, but I sure hope this one takes a break for at least a little while. Hey, top 3, it's still Res Priest. What more can I say? I will say this is the final Res Priest card of the video, which means that Convinced Infiltrator was the most hated of all these different Res Priest cards. And I think this guy summed it up beautifully. Greetings, fellow humans. The voice line for Convinced Infiltrator. How many times have we heard that voice line? Oh my god, millions and millions and millions. 24 times, according to our second comment there. So I'm on board with this. Convinced Infiltrator is probably, to me, the most oppressive of all the Res Priest minions. This one feels the worst to play against. It's just so awkward, so high friction. The RNG aspect of it's frustrating sometimes. So yes, God, I hate this card. I wish it would leave standard format sooner, but it's possible we have a whole nother year with this one. So moving on to the number 2 spot here, we've got Embiggen, another deck apparently people love to hate with Embiggen Druid. And although there are a few cards in that deck that I think are problematic, I actually think the side quest is more problematic than Embiggen. Nonetheless, this one is the name of the deck, so I'm sure it gets most of the hate. And one guy puts it pretty nicely here. I hate it because I was a staunch Surrender to Madness supporter. Spent a year and a half trying to make it work to no avail. It just feels like it's too easy for a cheese kind of card. I can imagine being pretty bitter if you went that hard into Surrender to Madness, and Druid gets Embiggen, which is just 1,000 times more powerful. But yeah, a card that I don't personally hate as much as most. I think this one's okay. Embiggen Druid, at least you kind of know what you're getting into when you're playing against that deck. So to me, it's actually an okay version of Hearthstone that's based on minion trading and stats on board. There's no crazy shenanigans. So although, yes, this one does do some, high-powered things, and the deck can occasionally just win, I'm still okay, I think, with Embiggen. And that said, finally moving on to our number 1 spot here, we got our good friend Leroy Jenkins. This one did not surprise me, and it was an overwhelming number 1 vote. This was far and away the most hated card, and we got some really high-level comments here, like, IDK, I just wanted to say hi. Well, you got to say hi to everybody watching. And Leroy Jenkins does not give me chicken, only headaches and rage. And then finally, Leroy is dumb. Togwaggle gives you treasures. I guess he mentioned Togwaggle as one of his favorites, but Leroy is dumb. Togwaggle gives you treasures is quite a sentence, and perfect spelling and grammar to compliment it there as well. So yeah, I mean, Leroy has ended more Hearthstone games than any other card ever. I'm 100% confident that's true, and that means most of us get a little sick of him, and hopefully, we're praying, fingers crossed, that Leroy will actually get rotated in the Hall of Fame this time. We'll find out very soon, hopefully, if that's true or not. I think it's time for Leroy to go, despite just how iconic he's been. I think he's had his moment, and Leroy, I won't be sad if you happen to go. And there you go, folks. That is it for the 10 most hated Hearthstone cards right now. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. I've included another 10, the next 10, kind of the honorable mentions or dishonorable mentions in the description below as well if you want to check those out. There's some interesting ones there that surprised me, certainly. Beyond that, there was a lot of different cards, just random stuff people seem to have grudges against for one reason or another. We're also going to take a look at the most loved cards from you guys, so stay tuned for a future video very, very soon to take a look at those. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below. And until next time, game on.